Hello. This is just a quick little look at a free VCR that I got. Went to the thrift store and saw this and saw the VU meters and went, oh, I like those. And it was priced at $10.99. So as I do, go to plug it in. I got no display here. This didn't light up at all. And the VU meters just went nuts. Just full lit. Power didn't do anything. Putting a tape in didn't do anything. And so I just brought it up to the front to let them know, like, hey, you're selling something that doesn't work. And she went, oh, well, plugged it in, doesn't work. Well, we're just going to throw this out. Do you want it? Yeah. So here we are. Not sure if it has the potential to be fixed, but it came with the remote. Looks like it was a pretty decent model when it came out. Hi-fi stereo, 4-head, all the good stuff. And for those of you that hate these auto head cleaners, look at this. It has a button just for head clean. And it looks like there's actually something that will activate the head cleaning function separately. Normally when the tape guides come in here, they'll momentarily push this in and it'll just touch the spinning head momentarily and clean off. You can see there's a lot of rental tape gunk on there. But I've never seen one with a button. Never seen one with a button like that. I also don't know what movie return switch is. That's something I'll have to dig in to find out. But anyway, you want to see what this does. Got this plugged in, audio and video out. And where's the power cord? So let's see what it does. Does that. Now, turn this down. I haven't turned this on. This is just what it's doing. If we look at the VU meters, maxed out. No life on the display. Power, any of these buttons don't do anything. And try the remote, just for the hell of it. Remote's probably dead. I should really change the batteries before they leak. But yeah, that's what it does. When I grabbed this, I thought, oh, you know, maybe it's a switching power supply issue. This does not look like a switching power supply to me. The size of that transformer. Unplug this. So I'm gonna do some research, see if there's anything available online for this. And I have ordered an ESR meter. I want to be able to, I've got another power supply, or another VCR with a dead power supply that I want to try and repair properly instead of just shotgunning new caps everywhere. So I ordered a cheap little ESR meter from China that I want to try out. Oh, and on the back of this remote is a little sticker that I believe came with our local cable company. So effective January 1st, here's the TV channels that you used to get back in 1995. 61 full channels. It's a sweet little blast from the past. And we had Shaw Cable. My city, Winnipeg, there was two cable companies. There was Videon, and Videon serviced what was like Winnipeg proper, and then all the sort of towns and suburbs around it were served by it was called Greater Winnipeg Cablevision. And then in the 70s they did something called Unicity, where they sort of like made all the, well, not all, but a lot of the surrounding suburbs part of Winnipeg. So Winnipeg became, they call it like one great city. So it kind of worked out that there's a river that goes right kind of down the middle of the city, north to south. And so east side of the river, you had Shaw Cable. West side of the river, you had Videon. So this would have been somebody living on the east side of the river. Actually, what's interesting is the thrift shop I picked this up on is on the west side of the river. So this traversed the currents. I know some of you like to see the mechanisms in here, so I'll kind of give a bit of a show and tell of what's going on. It's your mode switch, loading motor. Got this guy, the erase head. I wonder what year this was. For the horrible noise, this little jerk starts out quiet and then gets louder, and then goes to another stage of loudness, and then another stage, and then if I leave this thing on for more than like 10 minutes, it's unbearably loud. And that's coming from someone who's too old to be able to hear these goddamn frequencies. So yeah, this is I pulled this out of, it was a little camera, a little waterproof camera that came in a kit. It had a battery mounted in it. It had this little TV with a little cover that you'd like Velcro and undo the cover, and it had this camera on this long length of wire, and you would drop the camera down into a lake when you're fishing, and then you could spin it around with the remote control and turn the light on and off and see the fish in the lake, presumably. And the thing was dead, but the little screen, this is like a repurposed, I guess, security cameras. Oh, yep, there. It's on to the next frequency. This is a little repurposed security camera screen, and I really only use this if I'm doing work and I need a CRT. Normally I use this little thing, but sometimes stuff doesn't show up correctly on here because it's an LCD, although it is pretty good. So I usually just use this if I really want to see exactly what's going on with these old VCRs. God, that is loud. Just a quick side note. It's neat. Oh, I'm going to move my finger out of the way. It's neat how this display shows both SP, SLP, but if you go over to the side here, there's EPSP. I guess this was back when some manufacturers still called the slow speed SLP, and others called it EP. So this display will do both. So I've just been going through this board and visually inspecting it. And I don't know how well this is going to show up on the camera here, but there was some remnants of that brown circuit glue that you see in some older machines. I think Hitachi was pretty known for that. And I can't really get that going here. But yeah. You can kind of see some traces have a little bit of crap on them. I cleaned this board off with alcohol. A bunch of brown crud came off. There are some traces that are in pretty nasty shape, but I went and I metered. Yeah, here we go. Here's one. Let's see if I can get. Well, I'll have to maybe just do like a digital zoom or something. Right here, see that trace is kind of discolored? The circuit glue was starting to corrode some of the traces, and I didn't notice anything shorting, and the traces still seem good when I'm metering them out. I haven't metered all of them yet. I'm really hoping that that's the cause of it. The alternative is if they were shorted, then it could have damaged something on this board, but I'm hoping it could just be a corroded out trace. What's interesting is I had this on for a while, and the noise on the screen started to fill in the screen to the point where I just had almost like bad reception snow, and the sound sounded exactly like just a detuned TV station, which is weird because like you wouldn't expect to have that level of white noise with all those frequencies coming from something like this. Maybe you'd have like one or two, like a 60 hertz hum and then some other frequencies, but that whole plethora seems like something is kicking the tuner on. Well, I think I might leave this for now. I'm gonna kind of sit on it, maybe if then someone's got any suggestions. I went through all the sort of brown circuit glue gunk on here, cleaned it all off, scrubbed it. I couldn't tell if it was just dried flux. I think it's just dried flux or some of that glue in between these, but I cleaned them off, metered them, checked them, same thing here. I checked all the traces that had any corrosion on them, and they all seem to work through. In fact, most of them are just ground traces that have lots of redundancy. I I just spot checked a few of the capacitors, the larger ones, like the big filters. They seem okay. I just checked the output. There's two 7805 voltage regulators on here. They're both getting 8 volts in, 5 volts out. There's two transistors on here I'm going to look up to see what they do. I don't really have a schematic, and there's no labeling as to what these wires are, what voltage they're supposed to be. So I'm not 100% certain if it's a power supply issue or an issue over on this main board here. Anyway, it was just an overall look at this VCR. Let me know if you guys have any ideas.
Chief Wiggum, PI, will return right now.
All right. I'm getting somewhere. We're still not doing great. There's a bit of flickering. And the video's still screwed up. But I no longer have bad audio. And it seems to be doing something. I think, is that the tuner that's bad? When I go between channels, line in. Okay, what if I do display? Do I have some form of display? Let's go to a line in. Can I hit menu? Guide? No, it doesn't do anything. Display. What do I have available to me? There's got to be a menu here. Okay, this is... So what I did is I cleaned off this board where we left off, and then I said, screw it, I'm just going to start pressing things because the noise that was getting on the screen and the audio seemed to change depending on where my hand was. So I just started touching random things, whatever, it's low voltage, and right in this section here, I noticed I was making a bit of a difference. And this one pin here, I could feel a little bit of, almost a bit of AC go through my finger, which is weird. I shouldn't really feel something going through there. I looked up close and they looked like bad solder joints. So I reflowed all of these, powered it on, didn't make any difference at all. So while this was powered on, I unplugged this connector and the whole thing went dark. The audio noise went away, the picture went away. So I went, I think this connector, the wires look kind of like it's going to either the video headboard or the power supply. I went to go plug this back in with the VCR plugged in, and it just woke up. I partially woke up. The mechanism did its little seek with the idler back and forth. The loading tray here moved. I can't remember if the head spun up, but it kind of woke up. So I'm going to get some contact cleaner. I'm just going to unplug this and clean it up again. And I'm going to try powering it down with it plugged in to see, oh, it's flickering. So it very well could be that if it's this board, let me try unplugging. I'm going to screw around with this a little bit more and see if I can nail this down a little bit more. Also, my little ESR meter came today from China. So I have these two I have these two capacitors that I pulled out and metered with my old meter, and they seemed a little low in capacitance, but I think it might have been my old meter. So I popped in two new ones just temporarily. Didn't make a difference. So I just metered these on the new meter, and they, well, one of them is a little low, but they overall check fine. So now I can go and check all those parts. I mean, really, including the transistors on here. I can pop them in and see what they read as. So exciting. Oh, there we go. Whatever was rubbing seems to have broken free. Every time I hit eject, it gives a little spin. So I think there's still something wrong. Especially this flicker isn't as visible in real life, but I can still sort of see it, but on the camera it's real bad. So I'm still thinking that I want to go through the power supply. By screwing around in here, I may have just been able to wake it up. Hit the guide button here, Focus. Yeah. If I press guide, listen to that TV just scream. So that's what I get on the LCD. And that's what I get on the screen. Hello, I am Hitachi's IntelliScan, User's Operation Guide. So it's starting to wake up, and this is starting to look more and more like it's definitely a power issue. Let me get rid of that horrible sound. Oh, if I hit it again. To end, press guide. Look at that. I get nothing on this screen, because this screen can't even sync to whatever that is. Just garbage. I'll shut this off because it's really loud, and I'm not going to put a low pass filter on this video. Yeah. Okay, continuing on. And this area is totally dead. None of the motors are spinning. Nothing's... The most I can get out of it is the capstan motor to spin momentarily. Loading motor does nothing. Drum motor does nothing. This thing's dead. I just measured this cap before and it was 6.9 ohms. Now it's 11. Here's what it looks like when I'm running a video signal to the line in. I'm just pulling it off of my Sony VCR I have sitting right here. And there's what it looks like on the CRT. Oh, we just lost horizontal. And I'm just plugging away, pulling caps out, testing them, replacing them if they're bad. And we seem to be slowly improving. The quality of the on-screen display, I think, is better. Maybe it isn't. It's hard to tell. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, chugging along. I feel like 20 nanofarads is very much wrong. I'm gonna pull it out and try it again. Move it to different terminals. Ooh boy. It's not even seeing it. Oh wait, no, yeah, 2.3. So 8,000 picofarads would be 8.2 nanofarads. Yeah, that's not it's not 10 microfarads, that's for sure. Here's what my old ass capacitor tester is saying. I've got it hooked in here. This one always measures a little low. And this is, oh, now it's measuring higher than that one was. It's counting up. But I mean, still, nanofarads, like, no, this cap's bad. Why do I keep doing this? I know it's bad. Just replace it, damn it. Now I have it hooked up to my multimeter, which also does capacitance. And it started out a high value, but you gotta wait for this thing to kind of hone in its measurement at 0. Ah! On my first leaky cap. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show this. All that gunk on that one, on the negative terminal, that looks like it leaked out. This is another 47 microfarad. So far, all the small caps have tested bad. Like, just dead nothing bad. Here's where I'm at. I recapped all the power supply. It didn't seem to make a difference. The caps were definitely bad, and I've tried them on 3 different meters and compared them to known good ones. While I had this plugged in, one of the capacitors I replaced vented. And this was installed correctly. This wasn't backwards. I quadruple checked before I pulled this out. Straight up vented. Nasty. I didn't test a few of these before I put them in. Kind of feel stupid now. I spot checked a few of them. So I can put another one in, but then I started thinking, well, if all of these were bad, what about some of the other ones? And now we come to decision time. There's a lot of capacitors in here. So I went and I checked. There's a little one right here, just hiding behind these wires. That one was okay. I think that was like a 0.47 or something, 2.2 maybe. And I checked this one, well, it's now a blue one beside this IC, and it tested the same as the others. It's a 10 microfarad, 16 volt. So there's a couple other 10 microfarad caps in here that I'm going to go through and check. I just pulled one out of this location you see here. And when I go and measure it, it measures like all the other ones that I've been pulling out. Trash. Here we go, testing. And for reference, here's what it should look like. 10 microfarad, but your ESR 1.4 ohms is pretty good for a 10 microfarad at 16 volt. Those can be a lot higher. And if I take this and just look directly beside the one that I pulled out, you'll see the one that I pulled out is, let me flip this around, is 16 volt, 10 microfarad. And the one that I'm comparing it to, or the replacement one here, is 10 microfarad, hold this in the light, 16 volt. So I've got some new ones here. I'm going to go through some scrap boards and see if there's any good caps I can start pulling off. Well, I think I'm going to leave this for now. I've narrowed the problem down to inside this power supply. Every capacitor I pulled out tested bad except for the 3300 and 2200 microfarad. 3300 tested good on one tester and bad on the other, and the 22 was low but okay on both. Didn't have a 3300, so I've put two together temporarily, and I tested all these before putting them in. Now I have the one that I didn't test before I thought was shorting, and decided to vent, which is this guy right here. It's still doing that, and the polarization's correct, so I'm not entirely too sure. It seems like something is shorted on here. I have it disconnected from the VCR, and I've checked the 7805s. There's a 5 volt regulator and a 5 volt regulator here. I checked both of those, still in circuit, 8 volts in, 5 volts out. I took off there's two identical transistors here. Is a D1765. So I popped both of those off and tested them. They tested okay. The gain's a little low. I'm not sure if that would cause a problem. A little low compared to the data sheet. Not sure how accurate my tester is. And I grabbed this little C144 NPN transistor and I pulled that out and tested that one. So there's no shorts. Checked all the diodes, no shorts. There is some pretty significant heat damage from those guys over long term. I've seen that in a lot of VCRs. I think these are used in a rectifier circuit. But yeah, I'm not sure what's shorting here. There's some glue left over from underneath the bigger capacitors. I've scraped a lot of it off and I've checked. It doesn't seem to be shorting between anything. That might be my next step, to try cleaning that off entirely. But I mean, otherwise, resistors all check okay. Diodes in circuit all check okay. Capacitors are okay, and as far as I can tell, all the transistors are okay. There's no circuit glue on the backside here. It's a very clean board. I visually checked. I checked between all the connections on the header. I don't know what's causing that capacitor to heat up so much. It's either the wrong polarity or there's something shorted. So yeah, if any knowledgeable people out there know where else to check on this little power supply, I think that's where I've left off. I changed out, I spot checked all the 10 microfarad 16 volt caps on this were bad. So I pulled them all out, changed them from like a sacrificial board. The 10 microfarad 25 volt ones checked okay. I checked some 2.2s, they were bad. I checked the 22s, they were okay. So it seems to be different batches on here. I replaced all the ones sort of in this main area here. This is your video and your RF, and then over here is the power going out for the motors, and then the main CPU, which seems to be working. The video is still scrambled. There's still no motor function. Very little life or response there. But I mean, until I solve this problem, there's no point in checking anything here because this could be causing everything. So yeah, if anyone knows, let me